Hi theory students. Today we'll be learning about augmented sixth chords. We're going to discuss the basic structures that are shared by all the types of augmented sixth chords. We'll be learning the three varieties which have international names, and we'll be talking about the voice leading guidelines so that you know how to use and resolve these chords. First, the basic structure. The augmented sixth chord is a predominant chord and is a chromatic variant of the 4/6 in minor keys. It's constructed with at least these three notes: scale degree 6, or if you're in a major key you have to lower scale degree 6, scale degree 4 raised, and you need to do that whether it's major or minor keys, and scale degree 1. Scale degree 6 is always a half step above 5 in an augmented sixth chord, and that's why it needs to be altered from the normal scale degree 6 in major keys. The interval from lowered scale degree 6 in the bass up to raised 4 is an augmented sixth, which gives the chord its characteristic name. I'll show you. So here in C minor, the components of any augmented sixth chord would be scale degree 6, there it is, A flat, raised scale degree 4, and the tonic. Note, for example, without raising scale degree 4, this would be a 4/6, and typically would go to 5 that way. When we make the augmented sixth chord, it sounds like this. It's a very interesting kind of chord, and note that characteristically the two voices that make the augmented sixth go out by a half step each to the dominant scale degree 5. So here are the varieties. In addition to those three voices, we often add a fourth voice, which gives the chord its international flavor. For the Italian sixth, we can use the three-voiced structure that I just showed you, or we can add a fourth voice that doubles scale degree 1. So in this example, if I added a C over there, it would be an Italian sixth. The French sixth, the fourth voice would be on scale degree 2. So there's scale degree 2, and that would be a French sixth. The German sixth, the fourth voice would be scale degree 3, and think of this as scale degree 3 from a minor key. So if you're in major, you would have to lower that. So here we're in C minor already. And if we add the E flat there and keep the A flat, F sharp, and C, that would be a German sixth. We have a mnemonic for remembering this. So if you want to think about the added fourth voice as being either scale degree 1, that's Italian, scale degree 2 makes French, and scale degree 3 would make German. I forget, IFG, reminds you that adding that fourth voice from scale degrees 1 to 2 to 3 makes Italian, French, German. As I mentioned before, as a predominant chord, this chord will go to 5, primarily at a cadence. Both scale degree 6, or lowered 6th if you're in the major key, and raised 4 are tendency tones, which is why they're not doubled. When we're resolving to 5, each moves by half step in contrary motion to scale degree 5. The tonic follows the bass and goes down a half step to the leading tone, scale degree 7. And that's what we showed you here. So let me clean that up. And rewrite this. So raised 4 goes up to 5. Scale degree 6 goes down to 5. And scale degree 1 follows scale degree 6 and goes down to the leading tone. The fourth voice for each of the 3 international types of augmented sixth chords go as follows. For the Italian, the doubled scale degree 1 goes up to scale degree 2, since the other scale degree 1 goes down to the leading tone. So over there, if we have a doubled scale degree 1, this scale degree 1 goes down, and this one goes up, and that completes the 5 chord. For the French sixth, scale degree 2 in the augmented sixth chord stays put for the 5 chord, or can go up to 3 if we're using a cadential 6/4. So here, if we create a French sixth by putting scale degree 2 in the alto, note that it stays on scale degree 2, going to the 5 chord. So we're already preparing one of the notes of the 5 chord. The German sixth is a little different. For the German sixth, if scale degree 3 went to 2 at the same time 6 went to 5, we'd get parallel fifths. Composers had a strong preference for using a cadential 6/4 instead, so that the bass, 6 to 5, resolved first. When the cadential 6/4 resolves to 5, then scale degree 3 will descend to 2, as it normally would in the cadential 6/4. Let me rewrite this now and clean that up. So this is a German sixth, and when I go to the cadential 6/4, I move the augmented sixth interval first, so that 6 goes to 5, sharp 4 goes to 5 also, and I leave the other 2 voices where they are, and then those two voices now can move. 6/4 goes to 5/3, as the cadential 6/4 normally does. And then those voices go down, and that avoids the parallel fifths that we'd get if 6 went to 5 at the same time 3 went to 2. And this is normally the way German sixths are treated. Here in C major, when we write the augmented sixth chord, we have to lower scale degree 6 because that is not yet a half step away from 5, and this interval here is not yet an augmented sixth interval. So we have to put that flat in, and that will do it. So now, if I had, let's say, a French sixth, now this goes that way, and notice I don't need a natural sign here because in C major it's already natural. So now in this key of C major, we go to 5 that way. When we have a German sixth, we not only raise scale degree 4, but we have to lower scale degree 3. Note, by the way, if I went directly to 5, I'd have parallel fifths. So what I need to do instead, if I wanted to avoid those, and this is a German sixth, I would go to a cadential 6/4 and then resolve it. In this case, if the composer wanted to borrow the cadential 6/4 from C minor, he would leave the E flat there in the alto. If he wanted to use the normal cadential 6/4 from C major, he would cancel that E flat and make that E natural. So then this goes here, here, and these resolve down the way the cadential 6/4 normally does. So for the German sixth, and the minor borrowing, or just going right to the major one, also something that composers could do let's take the Italian, for example. If a composer wanted to go to a 5/7, then that sharp 4 gets canceled immediately and becomes the regular scale degree 4. Some other odds and ends. We approach this augmented sixth chord by a tonic or a tonic substitute, or we could approach it by another predominant, especially a 4/6. So imagine if we had the regular 4/6, and then we raised scale degree 4, and then resolved it. That heightens the motion to 5. Or if we had the 4/6 from C major, and now we move the outer voices to the augmented sixth chord, and then to the 5. That's a very common way to move these. This isn't so much a chord of the Baroque era, but we start to see this regularly in the classical period. And in the Romantic period, we'll find this chord very commonly. Remember, when we're in a major key, make all the necessary alterations so that scale degree 6 and scale degree 3 for the German are borrowed from the minor mode and are lowered from what they'd be in the major. Chord symbols, we can just write in IT6, FR6, GER, or GR6, and we understand those to be Italian, French, and German sixths. This is much cleaner than having to write sharp 4, 6, sharp 4, 6, 4, 3, or sharp 4, 6, 5, 3, which is what each of those three respectively would be. We'll be working with the augmented sixth in class, but that's it for the video.